Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Nega uniform ye judo musai. Msekale wa mulabako. Mulembe ko but I was explaining why did the people of Kampala manage and the suburbs. We even accommodated what we call the empunzi when we are working half a day. Kampala had the market. Akatale ke walu kecha. Baitanga mu Kalitunzi. This new park. There was a market. Ne paka ya birole bayitanga either ku birole oba kuki gomita mu basi za Baganda. There was a market. Nachivugo there was a market. Tax park there was a market. Ngabantu mwebali wano ku Gaza there was a market. Bayitanga mu Katimba there was a market. Ewali ekizimbe kya kirumire kitunde mu park it was a market. Ewali eguli ya gundi basajja bala Market Street there was a market. California was a market. So and what Joko did was to recruit the baitanga ba computers to station them in the to pinpoint out yes but he left the city to operate. Never buli jono usirwe no bwako bwe natuletera obuwumba tutuona ne bujono ne businikira amanyi ku motoka za fere bukola bulika mukogera ku motoka katakulanga na kupira kwa motoka. These people don't know the genesis. If you committed an offense and you were sent to Luzira to serve 20 years and a good Samaritan takes over your plantation and house and looks after it. When you are released, yes, just him away. How did we, the border people and with the taxi owners, enter into the market? You destroyed UTC and the peoples that were left by Idi Amin. You even burnt UTC headquarters, Yariwan, Guajira Bako, Nga UTC Ringa airport. Abagende Gindi, you know never jump. The last manager yali so the last minister of transport yali Rugunda the minister of state yakawanga the bocha gundi Leyland yali bali batuwa the issues nachi ne basi za UTC zafulumanga ndizigenda mbasi za Baganda nizifuka ekitabulu they even waliwo basi wanezaba Chinese zikazine wazo. Where did it go? After killing it, the transport industry, we came in and invested. Katibagala amamwa buli kisiru kyonna kyogera ku taxi kyogera ku boda saka these people who filled the vacuum. If you had not killed the bus transport, would we have invested in this? Now but ina kayola train kayola ngajirina nerere teriwo ngende echengera walinga ne train twaina train yaliaga ngekasese up to the last days of India of what where is it go? Was it eaten by a mess rat? In that example. So nebuli omwayogera kubati balina magezi mu mutwe kakati nkugamba nti ebintu byabwe byonna bya busiru so kola be likonje sin Kampala city buli omusiru ajja mu Kampala mbu baba we tetujja kuziba
akatabo ke kamu likonje Kampala city
anti muli bawa
all the first strike
oba mu mjo tusafulia lo
all the four strategies were to take immediate effect.
Are we the ones who stole the buses?
UPC leaders in Western Uganda instantly embarked. Ngendewa.
Nti oyito ojoko omusirikale yamanya nti why toyeza kugira toyeza kukuba abantu mu kibuga tusobola ni buli kijjo n'engala buli kijjo n'ebikoyi byakyo olaba ne magezi asirikira ku bantu bw'emmotoka ezikola mu Kampala emitwalo 7 ani yakugambye odire sente zewatutte ku byalo bazibbi bisalo kwa government mujja kugwa obanga mumulowooza nti abantu bemujja okwabwaza okugoba ku mirimu nti Kagame eno Uganda nyangu nnyo is vulnerable tesobola kulwana lutalo
oli ku 9 Katonyeze 8 era kikaziri
the people mubajjako ebintu byabwe byonna mu bbe mu mitwalo 7 gwabadde omwavu kati akabuto kakulinga anywa kwete
leta tulaba waddako ku 9 Katonyeze 8
you will see the gogen social violence bubuli bugire nga basirika amanyi omanyete umetoka kula milioni 8 kati
ya taxi leta tulaba waddako
bubuli basirika amanyi musimanyi kyofa tokabi we shall fight you have a gradual process tuchikola musoke musibe motoka jeziva
bus politics oba
bus motoka jeziva nga tezikyajja
bus politics
percent tugule motoka ezili mu bantu zigende mu Uguma neye bali bus bazikola
bus politics when Jennifer Musisi was appointed KCC executive director, she enjoyed a lot of goodwill from the people. This is attributable to the fact that she was unknown. People's expectations were high, thinking she would be above of the old city wrangles and the chronic thieves. But just after a few months in office, her true character has already manifested. She is vulnerable to undermine, and this could be because of her mosaic image and the fact that she had the backing of the president. Ironically, it's these two important attributes that have made her an easy target of the thieves. They wrongly believed that with the open support from the president, this would scare off any criticism against her. They jumped on her thinking that they had acquired diplomatic immunity. They expected that any criticism of Musisi would attract wrath of the president. This was a very big mistake. Many in Kampala have been fleeced of millions by those claiming to be behind the bus project. When Haji Nasser Ntege Sebagala became mayor of Kampala, he was the first to market the bus project. An office for this purpose was established in the city council chambers. He hoodwinked the public to hoodwink the public. The public booked newspaper picked a picture of a bus from the internet and splashed it on its cover page. In other related gimmicks, Sebagala hired a new Mawingo bus and toured Kampala claiming the first bunch of his fleet had arrived. Many were victims of this scam. Unsuspecting young men paid recruitment fees ranging between 700,000 to 1 million for bus conductors and drivers respectively. Those behind the scam were giving ultimatums to Utoda that they had no future in Kampala. I was therefore surprised to hear Madame Musisi speaking the same language the con men have been using. This undermines her reputation and credibility. Secondly, the names circulating as being behind the bus project are the same old cliques in all Uganda's corruption scandals, further denting Madame public image. People who thrive on mosaic images must understand that credibility is like virginity. You lose it once. It can unfortunately be lost to a rapist, but it makes no difference even to a future husband. In both cases, it's never recovered. The moment Madame Musisi started speaking the language of the conmen who have fleeced the people of Kampala using the buses, her credibility suffered a nosedive. We all appreciate the need to decongest the city, but there must be a process which protects the interests of those who invested in the taxi industry. Restricting Kampala public transport to the anticipated buses is intended to eliminate competition, given the experience of past attempts by people like Gordon Wavamuno, When he tried to introduce buses, it was discovered that Ugandan passengers are impatient. They do not want to queue long and wait for hours. This is why those behind the project wish to eliminate taxis for good. Secondly, why buses? Why not other alternatives like train services? Therefore, it is obvious that this bus initiative is forced on Musisi by people with selfish interests without recourse to a SWOT analysis. I can predict that, like all corruption-laden projects, this one too will falter the moment the thieves get their way through. Forcing taxi operators from the city center to suburbs sounds good, but even though evicting a fisherman from a lake to a pond is better than nothing, it's a gradual death sentence for him. KCC houses.
Kakati abantu abo ngabulemeya kyokola nti omuzimu gw'obusiruka kusangamu nti disaje Musisi yatandika okulwana naffe mu 2014 ne bajja obutoda ne baleeta Mayambala atalina mupiira gwa mmotoka awemba saasirira tibo balowooza Mayambala alina emmotoka ey'omukamu bwe tunaavayo tebajja kudduka oyo simanyi kyafe kirina ki ozanyire ku miliyoni emmeka miliyoni 10 miliyoni zange 8 ziri omu ng'ozizanyisa nazeewola wa nnyoko. You see, when these people talk, that's why you are going to have problems. Kakati bali bannanyini basi beekukumye and olwokubanga Museveni atuleetera abantu n'oleeta ow'ekibuga n'oleeta bakansalas n'obateeka mu kibuga nga baminister. We cannot talk to them at the same wave length. What do we do? What do we do? I've explained the genesis that you killed the buses on your own. We came in and invested. Kakati, we are going to be an oil producing country. I agree. We need the buses. But there must be a process. Kubanga mumulowooza nti mujja again. Uganda teringa Kenya nti ina cities ez'enjawulo from Mutukula to Kampala. Everybody comes here. Ate nabaga nti Kampala zirina n'abasaabaze tebakulimbangako teriyo omuntu asobola okukola feasibility study mu bank ti basi 10 tezikolamu. Kampala zirina abasaabaze batandika okutambula mu kibuga essaawa 10 abazi okufumba mu owino zigenda okutuuka 3 nga haja ogenda nezeebaka tetulina naiti sifutis kati zigwayo saawa nyono zirabawo mwenyini mu Kampala oyinza kakati ngeri nabeeranga ku NASA eri ekyuma kyange ng'omuntu ayinza okwebaka mu luguudo ku saawa 4 wali ayitayo. Kampala is a city of over 1.5 million people. During the day we don't have night shifts. Tebakikulimbanga okujjako ataasoma atamanyi transport. This is why ababasi bagamba mbu sekansi bawinga sente mbuyonga yebasasula. Why? Tebalina business. Tebakulimbanga nti waliwo basi 10 wano ng'obajjawo tibaliiwo. Kakati ffe tetuganye bubbi bwammwe mumubbe Museveni. 2 ate ogaana otya abakazi abasajja okufunyisa abakazi baabwe embuto n'owerako Jashimbo walubalula ng'ate ozimbe wadi y'abaana ennene. One of the ways of solving traffic jams is flyovers, and you are contracting flyovers. Naye mwe musajja gwe simanyi kyofa togabi ebyo biraba oba this is rocket science to you. Baba wa sente buli ajja bamugula ne tebajja kukisobola. I was invited to Nairobi to discussing ne government ne bawera Kamunye bazwa a grace period of 5 years. Under the law in Kenya, you cannot import a Kamunye for tax business. 14 seat bazwera but 5 chi alternatively muzireti omanyi bano obusirusiru obubali mitwe kuba osanga akatasuubulangako nampuuta nga bakalonze kaguza obulwa ate bano be babuleeta obusajju obusinga obungi obuminisita obwejja mafia yabuleta
tovuma
no sivuma
tovuma
babuleta for the purpose
nyerera kumulamwa
kakati nkugamba
to analyzing issue ya bus ngate muli kuvuma
you know nti abantu banje emmotoka zabalema okujja ewaka mu covid zikyaliyo zitudde nti weepakinga weyapakinga 13,000 azirina nti emipiira gyavunda ayina sente in my case batulizanga 10 nazibalanga zonna ziyisenga obuwunga 4 million kakati there are many motoka ezirenye n'abasaabaze bakendedde. If you have a project nga tugirese mu babbi, you hand it over to me, a honest man. I can buy all of these vehicles. Jengula jenyiga ereme kuddamu service mu buguma, and they will be willing to sell them. You value ujja kulaba empisivu ze bakuleetedde oteeke centers mu bibuga ebyenjawulo enkadde zitakyava waka. Buy them instead of buying gundi scrap. Buy these ones. Naye olw'okuba tebatudde wansi ku kifumba tibo balowooza mu ultimatums nti oyo alina akabuto abadde omwavu jjo nga n'akayumba tekasobola kuyita mu kitanda kya vono akuga nti emmotoka ya 7,000. Even if you sent a year, are we going to split it in 12 months?
Kakati ekyogedde bulungi
bajja kikeera ku majja
okyogedde bulungi nti towakanya development yeno naye ogamba ebeere process kati njagala otemeteme process eyo
anti nkugambye ti process esooka nti 14 seaters mugambye trains kati mwalese train wagons mwazireetako nezibba babisula kasasiro babisudde London ne baleeta wano babbe kubanga musi netumwebaze bagoba abantu ku leero. I asked them leero line ziramwe buli kibuga kinawambaza kini who owns the rail lines Vegetarian Rift Valley. Do you remember tinera bajja wano abakulembeze ba Africa ba East Africa okusigning endagaano ku standard age leero babagana okutula bwawo ku leero batula wasudi munyonyi balwachenga kadole. It belongs to people. Nobody can tell you to sit a uninga gundi. So therefore tuyina okumanya in the next government where I will work, I will ask to be in charge of intelligence or to be a minister in charge of job creation and protection. Kubanga abantu bano tebalina background nti omwana oyo omutembe gwola batambula alina multiplier effect. Oyo wa boda gwolaba yatumula ekibanja kye owa boda munsi boda tezikola taxi. But because you have an abnormal situation, not your border, no jijako PSV, the passenger service vehicle, eriko ne insurance anyajiri. Kakati kitegeza, you can even start a project from border to a market, from a border to skill. Mulowooza baagala nnyo zivuga. But currently, nakati nvudde mu moto wali wone wagundi bayitawo batya ewa Kiseka. Nga abasirikale ba polisi bakwate abapoda batalina kye bakoze onoonya siringi 10,000 gwa abaana bo bali abono yezi tuyimba tukikubidde bulungi kubanga nkubuulire. That's why I lose my temper. Mwe mulowooza nti omwana yeeyokya etunisi n'avaako gavumenti yagundi okugwa n'amagye gawambye gavumenti okuva olwo omwana lwe yeeyokya sente yali asitwala wa Beniali. Omwana yeeyokya sente yali asitwala wa Beniali. Ekibuga kisaana mufu abalina amagezi nti mu bibuga bingi naye osanga abo nga tebatambulangako kebera passport zaabwe okujja kugenda emakka. Mu bibuga bingi waliwo nezetuyita boot market. A man like me who has many suits nsobola n'amasaati nsobola okujja ku sande nezigulawo butu ya motoka. Abantu bawakkiriza ne bagula ku bintu. Every city in Europe and America ne New York nagisangayo a Chinese city where people can go and buy all the things. Nodira abantu b'omuwino abatunda textiles n'obasiba nga president bamugambye nti abo abanyanza bakola tewali lugwiro bakola kakati abantu bonna badde balina ebyalani byabambozi balamukiro. Museveni believes is protecting local industry. Tewali industry name
ekyo bakijjeewo
anti I'm telling you
naye process ye erimu kinaki bw'ogitemaata nti njagala okutereeza kye baagala okutereeza bakole bwe bati stage 1 bakole kino stage 2 bakole kino
nti tusooka ntugenda ntuleta etteeka teri aleeta kamunye teri aleeta boda mpya kubanga tetujja kubeera nazo in the next 5 years kati ekyo omuntu nakikola ki nakitegeera tetuddayo ku contractinga loans naye nkugaa nti neziriwo kati eziri ku luguudo enkadde bo bajja kugamba bugambi mbw aba traffic bazikwate bazisobola naye kuyamba okunywa amazzi amafuta
gugamba baziyiteyo omuntu voluntarily omugamba yite motokayo wemu sente
akimpe nze emmotoka enkadde tuziwe buguma kubanga abantu bane kibakola obubi tebaliizoninga tikakati gwe nawulidde simanyi RCC deputy RCC werubaga ng'avuma ono mutabani wange Segawo Kigundu bw'omaze embanga ebizimba abagagga mutegeere muzimbiramu n'abantu abalala. You were stupid. Why? Do you believe weralabyeko gwe ebbanda omusajja afunyisa mukazi w'olubuto afe nga process yakufa kati olanga nnyo essomo lya Margaret ne bwe libanga olwaki abaana bayita si kyekyo waliwo agamba nti kantwale omwana nga agwe. An accident is an accident. This man invested his money there. This man survived narrowly yabaddewo. This man is not his first time to have buildings in Uganda, in the city. An accident is an accident. Call in the experts. Ne bazimba katifunye plan. What if he gives you the plan? Ogenda college. And to send bazimba nga tulina plan. Bw'obeera wa
naye yo teyabadde accident anti
obeera wa
singa musi yabadde akisudde
nedda sebo kankobola
eba accident
ekizimbe ettaka eryo golimanyi berifaanana likavinga yini ettaka lizo kavinga yini yes
anti kati kitegeeza okuva wansi mwandibadde mwabimadde ettaka nga mulimanyi nti nolikavinga yini
mu America California olwirwa kwendera kwata omuliro is it the first wound to call is only because nti kule bagamba accident omusajja badde avuga ndima. No, you cannot reconstitute a scene of accident. Owapota amugizi yagezi kaliko kanti abadde avuga ndima lwaki buli mwa avuga ndima ekintu ekibadde kisana kyagala okuteesa kigenzi. So that's why for us we need experts. Nti mu Kampala mwali baddemu bayinginiya abali independent. Don't believe nti omusajja oyo omwana oyo omuto yazimbye ekizimbe ekyekigwe. Even insurance to pay him eyina okuba nga ejja kusuuka ebuulirize. So I cannot believe that he did it deliberately.
It was not deliberate.
When you say you are stupid,
it was not deliberate.
Too.
But there are loopholes.
Yes, and
technically.
Bali abakugu ennyonyi bwegwa babuuza basaabaze ennyonyi bwegwa banonya black box and the experts come. They can tell you human error, bayinza okugamba weather, bad weather, bayinza okugamba natural disaster. Ne buli omu yenna n'ayogera. Two, when you say that 1 million 10 is it, where is that ruling? Ebizimbe byonna bikubye abantu wa. Where is that ruling? Why does it start on him? Siri mutegeerenga nti abawandiika abo oyinza n'okusanga nga baagaba n'enguzi babakiza okukolawo. Okitegedde bajja balwana accident kibakwatiddemu. But you harass somebody as if not if you go essajja lijjeyo obutu bwe guti. Omwana wange abadde asoma senior 3 yabadde buwama yavudde buwama najja Kampala okugula ebitabo yasangiddwa ate mu kizimbe oba yaleese ebbomu. Masomero kyagaguddewo. Is there no school in Buwama? A shop in Buwama? Arrest him immediately. Arrest that one. How did that girl find his way into the building? Kubane budde waliyo emirambo gy'abasajja bakulu babiri bebagalira mu bukya abaana. So ekibakola obubi when something happens in Europe, a scene of crime is ribboned off so that the experts come. Nali kumawulire ne diputala sisa atazimbanga ku nyumba atalina na fumbiro naye na commentinga are you an engineer? You are not an engineer. It's only because nti kakati if you tell me nti abasaka nze mbimanyi when somebody builds a structure and it goes 3 feet then it is destroyed by court order, which takes a process. But we are guided by one thing. Does this man constructed the building deliberately to kill people? Musadasi wa abantu. What is his track record? Is this his first building? Oh, he has a number of, how many does he have this track record of constructing buildings that fail? So, kakati nze nkubuli until we end up losing in everything. Ebintu bya Uganda byonna tubirekera abatabisobola ne bakomentinga. Naye ate nga nze nkugamba nagamba nga Isima Lubega ekibuli ekibibi nze mu kusima kabuli nkwebuuzaako n'ekyolooni kuba nze kakati kankubuulira eyo expertise ogiyina kankubuulira
yali musimi wa
kankubuuza nga basimye ekinya ekya fuuti 3 nze ne basiba 10 n'ongamba nzigire ku kano
oba otunuleyo bwoti
nosulayo nobosula sente meka. I cannot venture there.
nze n'okutunulayo
kakati ono omusajja gira kano is an expert. Omusajja aleka omwenge ku kyalo talina nnimi 2 naye gwe bayita guyidde. So everybody waliwo abaga nti eyo kabuli ejja gwamu musibye nnene
talina nnimi.
Yes, omusajja agula embuzi omuzembe ewuuni bana balunda embuzi agikulembedde zonna nezimugoberera zonna magic. I look at these people nibaga nti balina skills magic ki kakati nze bagamba nti nina amajini agakwata abyuma byange babiyita majini. Kakati singa bantu yininga mu UPDF nembakolera ejeri y'amajini eriketta
naye tebagamba mukambi nawe kenyini ogamba
kakati expertising eyo
nawe ogamba
n'olaba gwadalaba musajja agula ente ng'agenda okugula ente naga nti alina mizaani gyatadde ku gundi kulole ajekiikamu bwati najekiikamu bwati eyo ya kiro 3 ya 3. These are experts.
Tamale katugende mu mawulire.
Yes. So as we allow you to do your expertise, allow the engineers, and when you shout, the engineers fear. But yeah, when I give out a report,
blackmail. Tubatisa tisa.
Musigale mukuleka kumwenge. Gundi deputy gundi engineer to oba engineer to soma byowasoma yogera byowasoma naye ebya construction. Abakaka bwe bazimba bategere bazimbira abantu teri gundi gokone ekigero bogende boyagala kulumika ekigero
agulente gwensinzo yasinzo okunsanyisa aje ekikamu n'agamba ya 3.
What is the intention of this man? Was the intention of this man to lose money in a building, to kill people? No. He likes the building and his money more than the deputy RCC who says that he's an expert. When he has no toilet, he had a toilet recently. He was buying all of the suits and the trousers. DNC is democratic. Nyangu nyetu disorganized. Baito kubanga ebyama president ya biyina, but we are vulnerable. Vulnerability. When you ekwanga yonali tutunuli ya capacity. Corruption asula nye gwanga. Lack of checks and balances eggwanga liko obanga kati bolaba mawulire nga nagafu gebagula. And I was reading Booked this morning nga target yonna olupapula lwa gavumenti ate lulaganga gavumenti bwe yawaayiriza before even going to court. Booked yenga agamba laba omujulizi bino tebiriyo nabagamba mu government ya Museveni mulimu agirwaniramu. There is a very powerful person or group with a strong bond in the media. They are so-called weapons. When they arrested Bobby Wine, it was alleged that he had guns. A policewoman who is not supposed to tell lies. As the case progressed, where the guns disappeared to kill the case. This one killed the other. You cannot be collected on one side and the other. Two, Batugamba Ntizake Yaduka detention. Why was he thrown at the hospital to be saved? When he recovered, didn't he remember where he was? If Zake was in custody, did you see those who made his escape easy and dump him at the hospital? Kitegezera bali bamunda baga nti katumusimagolinga ajja kufuluma bwe batakawesi babiteekangako tekubukedde FM ng'oli responsible era abalaba kawesi abamukuba amasasi ababalaba baali basajja bagisu babiri baali awo obagalaji ne bakwata n'ebifaananyi, but when they reported the police they were killed. Who will volunteer information? Bukete naga nti abatutte Katumba ku clinic omutuufu alabise omutuufu yoli ate atali mutuufu ne mbabuuza Katumba teyabadde conscious tamanyi bamutotte. Where did this man disappear? Uyo wokubiri. How did he disappear? And why was Bukete supporting him? That was the correct one. Nembaga nti basuubirayo okukwata abantu bano parade, identification parade, olina okuteekayo omukyama atabamanyi. Katumba mala n'alonda ebisosonkole. Bukede neekuba neega nti n'abakuumi ebyo babizina kwegamba nga kkulu bye yasomera e Sandhurst asinga nnyo celebrated gino okumanya usefulness y'ebinankani ebisosonkole. So you see nti everything kakati there is no judge or magistrate who can direct you, the police authorities, nti mumutwale mukomera gundi. He only remand you. It is that bwagamanya amakomera okuyita masomero. The judge directed. He directed. Ne bategeera nti what makes Segirinya being an MP and his academic papers are questionable. Judge nagoba omusango ku technicalities asigale ng'MP. There is no judge who can dismiss a constitutional case on technicalities, because if he was served badly, does it mean that he acquires the A level requirement under the constitution? If somebody goes to court, the constitutional court, and asks the court to find out, to declare whether this man who lacks academic papers, whose case was dismissed on technicalities, the judge told to him, examined him, and gave him an equivalent of A level. We don't change anything, but the judge yabadde alina okuvaayo. Kiki kye yeetaaga kati bwe MP kwatambulira atambulira kuki bwe MP era ojjukira nti nga bannuupu bagiwaabidde, they are contesting over leadership. Nuupu yakola nominations where nti omulamu sajja kusalawo tajja bagaana. It was risky. What if the judge decided why were they sure nti omulamu tajja kusazamu kulonda bwakwe? Yes, this means nti we are vulnerable to a country like Rwanda. These are gaps you see. These are gaps. Kati soma wano walabe bano ne lwaki Museveni Kampala yagireetamu banafu esimayi bamuyita kyofa tugabye n'erinnya lyennyini lyogera tikyofa tugabye Walumbe yakigaba ekitegeeza kitaawe yali tamwesiga. Kakati njagala osooke onsomere paragraph 2 zino. Bw'otuuka wano nkulage wano osoma. Sooka osome paragraph 2. Akatabo ako
okuva kweno. Akatabo Kampala. A victim of foolish spirit syndrome.
Yes.
Homosexual couple.
Nakawandika nemba gamba office zaba minister abajja okukola mu Kampala mulimu omuzimu gw'obusiru buli yajja kumukwata
eddiba lyako kuliko ekifaananyi
kakatulaba nti entegeera y'abaminisita ba Kampala balinga ba homosexual abalowooza nti bajja kufuna olubuto.
Jack abuuza John, when are you conceiving? Ofuna ddi olubuto? John when amuddamu, we have been in marriage for 5 years. Let us have sex every day.
Ndowooza y'abaminisita b'omu Kampala.
Omuwandiisi ye Tamale Mirundi.
Balowooza nga basiyasi.
Ntandise. A fool is described as a person who does the same thing again and again, expecting different results. After reading the above presentation and submission, I now need to go to the title of my book, Kampala City, The Foolish Spirit Syndrome. Psychologists tell us that a fool is a person who does the same thing over again, expecting different results. This is why I conclude by saying the ministers of Kampala have a fool's spirit hanging around in their office. Like any other fool, they are repeating the same things, expecting results. Different results. In my book, Uganda Soccer, Is It for the Game? Kati obadde onnyonnyola
yajja mu Kampala takisi boda butali efulu is somebody who does the same thing again and again expecting different results.
Mu Luganda nti omusiru yoyo akola ekintu kyekimu n'akiddiŋŋana emirundi n'emirundi naye ng'asuubira nti ajja kukifunamu omugaso.
Balwanyisiza butonda bakoze eki they don't provide an answer kubanga balina omuzimu gw'obusiru bagusanga mu office bonna buli omwajja omuzimu obusiru ne bumukwata buli omwajja obusiru ne bumukwata.
Omuntu si aba omusiru naye omuzimu abusikira abusanga muli muzimu gwetoololera muli.
Nkugamba nti soma tandikira ne kwepalabula while
ndabyewo
buli omwenna naaba omusiru
ku peji ya
obusiru babusangawo
agamba.
While
examining this issue, it's pertinent that we delve a little into the past. In 1983, top security officials of the ruling UPC government and senior army officers convened a special meeting to receive progress of the war in Luel Triangle. Top on agenda was to analyze all theories explaining why and how NRA guerrillas under Yoweri Museveni were gaining ground and threatening the survival of government. The National Army, UNLA, was suffering heavy casualties at the battlefield, and this was adversely affecting their morale. A number of them became reluctant to venture forward to the front line. Besides, the high death rate was causing ethnic tensions. Soldiers from Acholi sub-region complained of being sacrificed as they died in more numbers at the expense of their Langi counterparts who enjoyed the comfort of Republic House, today's Bulange. Among theories tabled was one suggesting that the general poor strategic responses to the conflict would within a short time help NRA transform into a conventional army capable of occupying the defending territories. This, they observed, would lead to balkanization of the country. The North-South Korea scenario. The fears discussed in the 1983 meeting were later re-echoed by General Tito Okello Lutwa in 1985. After the failed Nairobi peace talks, he had time off to brief elders in Kampala International Conference Center. He explained that he had refused to append his signature on the peace accord for fear of dividing the country along the lines of North and South Korea. The rebels' political wing, NRM, had established an interim government headed by Haji Moses Chigongo at Masaka to govern over the liberated areas. Number 1, therefore, the special meeting of 1983 had rightly foreseen a scenario that nearly came to pass, but in what they thought would be a better strategic response to stop it, resolved to implement the methods. Number 2, deployment of more Langi officers and men at the front line as senior Langi soldiers, Lieutenant Colonel Agole and the Army Chief of Staff Brigadier Smith Opanachak would undertake more proactive than reactive roles. Number 3, denying the rebels access to recruitment grounds by closing down all Banyarwanda refugee camps in the country. And number 4, deport all Banyarwanda refugees back to Rwanda. And decongesting Kampala city. All the 4 strategies were to take immediate effect. UPC leaders in Western Uganda instantly embarked on expelling Banyarwanda from the region. The exercise was implemented with a shock and awe approach, and as an earthquake tremor, everyone felt it. At its peak, inevitably, the politics of conflicting interests bared its nose. The wife of the then Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Francis Butagira, became a victim. Responding to the development, President Milton Obote, while addressing a press conference in Kampala, said, "Having kept those Banyarwanda refugees for 50 years, it's not a crime to politely ask them to return home. This is how a supposedly well-thought-out strategy against NRA backfired. Instead of denying the rebel movement more recruits, many voluntarily joined it. To limit the consequences, Oito Joko hurriedly convened a meeting for all Kampala hawkers. Beside army roles, Ojoko was also the managing director of Coffee Marketing Board, the quest treasurer for the UPC government. He thus enjoyed unfettered access to all funds required of any project in his government's interests. He badly needed to enhance his image before the masses and perhaps distance himself from some of the Obote anti-people policies. Using the coffee board assets, he undertook a philanthropist role, donating interest-free loans to hawkers to organize and formalize their business. He also took charge of the popular Coffee Football Club. In addition, he formed a group of computers. These were former rebels who had deserted the NRA. They were stationed at strategic installations like vital road junctions, hotel lobbies, taxi parks, as well as railway stations and border posts. Their assignment was simple: pinpoint at former counterparts in the bush.
Babalanti enala emetera ngatagisajja magezi egenda kutandika okulwana convention ewo basalawo watira ekintu bagoba abanyarwanda badde wa Gabyamana n'abasajja amagezi twenta Rwanda. You had to pass ekinyarwanda proficiency test bateeka ofisi ekagitwemu abatalumanyi abakadde basigala ku Sofia town ngenda kuyingira Rwanda babagamba. The younger ones joining the rebel ranks. These are the ones invaded Uganda at a later stage. Nebagamba nti abalamu taking over ogole ne Smith akona chaga nebaleta bamutukolera komando n'abatanzania alandozi ine batezo nebagamba the congest Kampala at this percent or it or joke rejected the congest in Kampala yabagamba kasamujja abantu bishiru government again. That's why I tell you that the soldiers think, the analysis think more than these opportunistic politicians. What do you think? Oyito Jogo yaga no. Let us reorganize those who are working in Kampala. Kuba kiri ekyokuba abanyarwanda kikuleetedde obuzibu. Oyito Jogo as a soldier, what he did, yaddira abakubi b'ebanga tubasushayinazi n'abakolamu ekibiina. Era ffe abajja abaali mu Kampala mu myaka gy'ekinaana mujja kulaba abasajja abakubi b'engatta abo nga balina obubokisi obwaliko kala za KCC. Bashiners Association. That was Oyito Jogo. Two, Oyito Jogo even encouraged the formation of more markets in Kampala. I was telling somebody, that people had the money. Why? In spite of Gundi, Ababi Abajang Ichiro, Nevatava, Abamaya Bam, would blow up the chain. Nay, we said in a Yokumacha, Avant Bakolam. Nay, I remember, Musakano Mulabaco. Yajanga is somewhere, Memovia is cup, Naingra Mishukuru. Gataina Guanica, Pasuna Musuzi said.